Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the basketball edition. Listen, if this is your first time tuning in, a special welcome to you. And of course, if you have been rocking and rolling with the Adrienne Ross Show already, welcome back, of course. Make sure you all hit the subscribe button. Also, while I'm just thanking you for tuning in, I also want to say thank you to the newest channel members. These happen to be MVP members of the channel. So Kathy McKee, welcome to MVP. Angela Short French, welcome to MVP, and to every level of membership on the Adrienne Ross Show, and every super chat, super thanks, a donator, etc. I see you. I appreciate you. I thank you. There's been a whole lot of conversation surrounding the Indiana Fever. Surprise, right? Let me be more specific. There's been a lot of conversation now that we are, for the Fever anyway, in the postseason. Talk about who's going to come in, who's going to coach this team, because I maintain it will not be Christy Sides when the season begins again. So we saw some changes, new president, new GM, soon enough, a new coach, and there will be new players. Before Lin Dunn made her exit, she commented that they're already hearing from people who desire to play with Caitlin Clark, who desire to come on board with the Indiana Fever. And that sounds wonderful. And I'm looking forward to seeing what those options will be. But I'm here to tell you, not everybody is made for the Indiana Fever organization. Not everybody is made for playing on this team, playing with Caitlin Clark, okay? So we're going to break that down in a moment. But first, let's just take a listen to what Lin Dunn said about that.
Imagine here early on, you guys start talking to free agents. There are going to be players that want to play free agent wise with Caitlin Clark because of how she gets them the ball, everything else.
Absolutely. We're already starting to hear some initial conversations with some free agents letting us know, that their player might be available for a trade or that they might be available in the free agency and that they would love to play with Clark.
Well, like I said, there are players already desirous of coming to play with Caitlin Clark as, well, I guess she's still currently the general manager, Lin Dunn. She will be making her exit and will be a senior advisor starting on October 28th. But here she is weighing in. Now, I don't know how many of you are new. If you are, you may not know that I coached for 6 years, but my profession was as an English teacher, and I am on my second career, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, my background is in teaching English. I love language. I love, I'm a writer, I'm an author. And so when I quote literature, those who know me are not surprised. And so if you know literature, you know Charles Dickens, you know the name, and you know the title of his book, A Tale of Two Cities. And then you also would know that one of the most known lines from that book is, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And this applies to the Indiana Fever. This applies to any one of those people who are thinking that they want to suit up in a Fever jersey and play alongside the franchise player, number 22, Caitlin Clark. Listen, I'm saying not everybody is suited for this, and this isn't suited for everybody, because playing with Caitlin Clark equates to the best of times and the worst of times, believe it or not. So let's take a look at each. Caitlin Clark broke more records between her college career and her first season in the WNBA than most of us can keep up with, right? So it seems obvious that having an opportunity to play with this phenom would equate to the best of times. Number one reason it would be the best of times to play with Caitlin Clark, as we're hearing people want to do, Caitlin Clark can score. That's like number one. You don't win basketball games if the ball doesn't go through the basket. And we know that Caitlin Clark is a proven scorer, right? So you get to play with a prolific scorer if you come to this team, to this franchise. That's a given right there, right? Who doesn't want to be able to put points on the board? Yeah. Everybody wants to talk about defense, and you need good defense to win championships. Absolutely. You need good defense. You want to grow in your defense, and that was something lacking with the Indiana Fever. Okay, that's a given. However, we're living in a day and age where people want to see offense. They want to see the ball be scored, and they like to see it in an exciting way. So Caitlin Clark, she brings that. She brings the ability to score. She also brings the ability to do it with the flair that honestly has been lacking in the WNBA. Not scoring necessarily, but the manner in which she does it. But again, number one is she is a prolific scorer, okay? Here's the other thing. The best of times, right? For those who are thinking about, have their eyes set on, maybe I'll get an opportunity to play there. The best of times is that Caitlin Clark is an amazing passer. Something that people didn't realize. Some of the people who were just kind of glancing during her collegiate career. She's an amazing scorer. She led the league, the WNBA, her first season in assists. Doing it amazing. Her passes are just otherworldly in many cases, right? And here's the thing. Not only can she pass well, she wants to pass the ball. So for those who are looking to come to this team, it's the best of times when Caitlin Clark is distributing the basketball, right? It's one thing, like if you're a scorer, okay, that's great. Right? But she's not just a scorer, she's a passer. And she doesn't just pass well, she's begging to pass the ball. A lot of times people who can score, they're selfish with the ball. Oh, Caitlin Clark, she's going to take all the shots. Oh, Caitlin Clark, she's going to have she wants all the points adding up. No, that's not the case. In many cases, and she's admitted it, in many cases, she's too unselfish, but she's looking to pass. She said it many times. I always want to set my teammates up. So if I'm somebody looking for a team, looking at Indiana, it's the best of times. Caitlin Clark with the ball, we all eat because she's going to cook. She's going to pass the ball. She's going to do it well, and she wants to do it. So goodness gracious, if I'm a scorer, hand me the rock. Okay, and the thing about it, because of her scoring ability, it's the best of times because she can get you the ball in your sweet spot. In the sweet spot, she knows exactly when to release it. She knows exactly where to release it. And so you're just in a good position if you are minded to score. She's going to want to get you the ball. She's going to get you the ball, and she's going to get you the ball where you want it. Yes, and I can hear the people now. Oh, but her turnovers. Listen, there are people who say, you know what? I want to play with Caitlin Clark. Turnovers be darned. I want to play with Caitlin Clark because she is the best of times in all those ways I just mentioned. And if you run the floor, hey, Indiana is the best of times for you because Caitlin Clark, she's going to give you the pass as you're running the floor. You're going to be rewarded for running the floor. You're going to be rewarded if you can keep up with Caitlin Clark. You can streak down the court. She's going to find you. You don't ever have to worry that, oh man, she's just not going to give the ball up. No. She's looking to give the ball up as soon as the rebound, if she gets the rebound, she's looking up. If the rebound is outletted to her, she's looking up. Ball out of her hands. So if you want to run the floor, come on, somebody. It's the best of times for you. Okay, here's another best of times fact that will take place if you are in Indiana. Everywhere you play, going to be packed. I didn't say when you're home. I said everywhere you play is going to be packed. Why? Because you're playing with Caitlin Clark. I mean, you can be on the road and you might have to move to a larger venue. Why? Because you're playing with Caitlin Clark. and people want to see her play. So if you've been playing, if you're, free agent and you've been playing and nobody's hardly been showing up, etc., ain't got to worry about that because it's the best of times when you come to wear a Fever jersey. People will learn your name. If you play with Caitlin Clark, they're coming to your games. They're going to know your name. They're going to cheer your name. There are players like Kelsey Mitchell, scorer for sure, has done some great things. But let's be honest, a lot of people didn't know Kelsey Mitchell from anybody until Caitlin Clark came to the Fever. And when she came to the Fever, all of a sudden, people are rattling off Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Katie Lou Samuelson, Nalissa Smith, Tammy Fagman, on and on and on. Wallace Berger, right? People know your name, even the coach, Coach Christy Sides. So that's a plus. If you are in this and you want the game to grow and you want to get the feel of what it's like to be in a packed place where people are cheering for you, it's the best of times with the Indiana Fever. And here's the thing right here. Caitlin Clark is only going to get better. So yeah, it is the best of times. She's only going to get better. She's a rookie and look what she's doing. So if you're playing with her, you got to think that this team went from the bottom to making the playoffs, and the best is yet to come. So you got to think that this first season of hers, with all of its accolades, man, that's like the seal. That's like the floor. I said the ceiling. No, that's not the ceiling. That's like the floor, right? So it's the best of times. You know what? You're going to be loved. You're going to be loved when you come to Indiana and you're playing with Caitlin Clark, because that's the kind of community. I know people out there tried to paint Caitlin Clark fans, Indiana Fever fans as these horrible, horrible people. And I find it interesting, if I may say so, if it's such a horrible place and all the allegations that all these fans are racist, instead of some trolls that you see out there or people on social media, but these fans are just so horrible. And, we're so scared to go to Indiana. Like, I guess Asia Wilson had some trepidation about being into Indiana. Why do these people want to come to Indiana? Why are we hearing about players who are just like, we'd like to be in Indiana. We'd like to play with Caitlin Clark. Sound like they don't believe it. All right, so the best of times, you're going to be loved, right? But Charles Dickens didn't just say it was the best of times. He then said it was the worst of times. And this is something that people who say they want to play with Caitlin Clark, they say they want to play in Indiana, it's not just the best of times. You best be aware that one might also say it was the worst of times. Why? I just told you that you're going to have packed arenas. Oh, that sounds wonderful. That sounds like the best. Well, it can be the worst. Why? Because more eyes are on you, which means more criticism is coming your way. It goes with the territory, something that some of these players in the WNBA cannot handle. And if you are one of those people, wherever your current team is right now, if you are one of those people who are saying, yeah, let's negotiate, I'd like to go play with Caitlin Clark, you just back up and you think about this, because it might be the worst of times. Because when you have eyeballs on you, you have criticism on you, and you can't start whining and complaining. And every time somebody points something out about your game, then everybody is getting down on you. Then everybody's racist. And all, you got to be able to deal with it, because they're going to hold you accountable. That's what fans do. They hold you accountable. Okay. So with Indiana, with Caitlin Clark, comes more scrutiny. Are you ready for it? Can you handle it? If you can't, don't come. I'm telling you, don't come. Okay. Another thing that could be the worst of times for players who can't handle it, you're going to have to take a back seat to the attention Caitlin Clark gets. Yes, they're going to know your name. Yes, they're going to cheer for you. But let's understand that Caitlin Clark is the star attraction. She is the franchise player. It is what it is. And if your ego cannot handle it, you're going to have problems. It's going to be the worst of times for you. So you better check your ego at the door or don't come through the door. It's just that simple. Caitlin Clark is going to get the vast majority of the attention. And if you're a rookie, you might be cool with that, maybe. But if you're a veteran and you're used to having that attention, or you just resent it, or you think she's got privilege, or whatever the case may be, you ain't going to be happy. It's going to be the worst of times. You're going to be disgruntled, and it's going to show on the court. So if you can't handle it, don't do it. Don't do it. If you can help it, don't do it. Here's another thing. If you are out of shape, this is going to be the worst of times for you. If you are slow and out of shape, you're not going to be happy in this system. This is not going to be the place for you. It took Christy Sides a while to get it, but she was determined that she was going to pound it out in the half court. Paint touches, paint touches, paint touches. And something had to click and say, you've got to play to this team's strengths. Caitlin Clark wants to run. That's the style of basketball. You heard Lin Dunn say it also. This is what this team is going to do. You got to be able to run. Now, they brought in Kelly Krauskopf as the president, right? They brought in a new general manager in Cox. They understand the bread and butter of this team. So if you don't plan on being ready to rock and roll, if you don't plan on being in shape and running the floor, it's going to be the worst of times for you. Don't even bother, okay? So it can be the best of times, but it can also be the worst of times for this young, talented team and this amazing Caitlin Clark. Here's another thing, okay? Social media, if you come to this team, it's going to be a cesspool, just the way it is. It comes with the territory. It comes with what I said about being scrutinized, all right? So if you don't have the discipline to maybe stay off social media, or if things start to get a little heated, to do what Aaliyah Boston did earlier in the season when they were scrutinizing her, and step away from social media, you're going to be unhappy. It's going to be wild because you got the eyes, you got the attention. All those things are good things, but the very thing that can be a good thing could also be the worst of times. So you need discipline in terms of social media. Maybe have somebody else handling that for you. I don't know. But if you just eat and eat that stuff, yeah, there are times it's going to build you up, but at times it's going to pull you down. So, hey, it might be the worst of times for you as far as social media goes. Now, if I'm your coach, I got no say-so in this, but if I'm the coach, the players are going to limit their engagement on social media. That's just going to be my rule. So I'm not saying necessarily you can't be on social media, but you can't just do and say everything you want. Like we saw Dejanay Carrington, no discipline. She just gets on social media, says whatever she wants. And people like Nalissa Smith didn't know any better than to engage, right? So she engages with that, even to the point where DJ, I'm just calling it DJ, where DJ or Dejanay is popping off about Caitlin Clark, popping off about Nalissa finally getting touches. And Nalissa Smith just can't help herself. She got to say something about it. Now, listen, if I'm the coach, I don't know. If I'm the coach, I don't know what their contract says. But other than that, if I'm the coach, I'm telling you, I do not want to see any kind of engagement with social media that is propping up a player on another team, trying to undermine somebody on your team. Hello. And I don't want to see this whole I don't want to see the nastiness. I don't want to see you represent the team. That should be the best of times. But in this society, for certain people who are undisciplined and who just get into that stuff, it might be the worst of times for you because you just might not want those kinds of restrictions. That would just be my rule. I have no idea what the new coach will do as far as that goes, or the president or the GM or whoever makes those decisions. Here's another thing in terms of the difficulty of playing with Indiana. You're going to be hated. Just like you're going to be loved, you're going to be hated. Not just by, other teams, fans, and other teams' coaches, but the media. You see how the media treated Caitlin Clark? There was a narrative. ESPN, for example, was down with it. I'm so thankful that we have people who are out there doing what I'm doing right now, using platforms to speak the truth, because the media always need to be called out, to be held accountable, because the media has a narrative, has an agenda, has a woke mindset for the most part when you talk about mainstream media, including mainstream sports media. And so, listen, if you're coming here, it might be the worst of times for you, because it's not just other teams who trying to take you down, sometimes physically take you down, or other coaches who just like, I don't give to this and that, and you're not the only player, and that, but then by the media, not just social media even. So understand all those things. I'm just saying like this. We're looking in Indiana. I say we like I'm there, right? We're looking in Indiana for a fresh start. They made some changes to help make that happen. And you know what? You got to have people in who can handle it, who can handle the best of times. And there's a lot of it. I just went through it. But also be mindful. Don't bury your head in the sand. Be mindful that it's the worst of times also, especially for certain people. So it's got to be the right people. Management, you know this. It's got to be the right people you bring into your system to create what you want to create, which, according to the president, has to do with their DNA. You know your DNA. So bring in only those pieces, but make sure anybody who's thinking about it, who is contemplating it, or agents who are doing that, or coaches that are talking among themselves, however they do this stuff, make sure they understand what they're getting into. Oh, it's glorious. Oh, it's the best of times. But also be understanding it's the worst of times in some ways too, when you come to play with Caitlin Clark. Are you ready for it? A lot. So what do you think? Where am I off? Where am I on? And maybe you can add to that. What else? What did I leave out? That's the best of times. What did I leave out? That's the worst of times. Let's engage as a community in the comments. Do so respectfully. Also, remember, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We are on our way to 40K. Hey, that rhymes. On our way to 40K. And also hit the join button so you can help me by supporting me in membership. And hey, I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.